And we are live. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for our All In for Advocacy Preservation Action Foundation fundraiser event. My name is Hui Pham from San Antonio, Texas. I'm secretary with Preservation Action Foundation, and I'll be your co-host this evening for our exciting fundraiser, live auction, and virtual event, which begins right now. So you can start bidding on the silent items as well as the live items, but we're gonna close the live items tonight. So make sure you're logged into your HandBid account. You got YouTube open on one screen, you got HandBid on another. Start bidding, get our numbers up so that when Marsh comes in later tonight, he'll be able to close the items. On the screen, you'll be able to see our full program. It's jam-packed tonight with cameos from our leadership team, special guests, preservation celebrities and friends around the country, members of Congress, and our Roy Smith keynote presentation by Dr. Lisa Yun Lee of the National Public Housing Museum.
And I'm Edward Hall, chair of the Programs and Policy Committee for Preservation Action. Tonight, I'm here on behalf of Preservation Action Foundation, 501c3, to raise critical funds that support lobbying for sound preservation policy, arming grassroots advocates with the skills and confidence to engage with their members of Congress, and to train the next generation of preservation advocates. All the funds raised tonight go to the Preservation Action Foundation. Like we said, we have a great evening planned ahead for you, and to kick us off, let's hear from our first preservation celebrity, Preservation Action President Russ Carnahan. Russ served 4 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives, representing the St. Louis, Missouri area. He held several leadership positions, including the chairman of the Bipartisan Historic Preservation Caucus. Russ joined our team in 2015, and we're glad to have him leading our organization.
All right, and let's see that message from Russ.
Hello, I'm Russ Carnahan, President of Preservation Action. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm talking to you from my home city of St. Louis, Missouri, in front of the magnificent Gateway Arch. There's so much history in all our cities around the country. We are so pleased that the Preservation Action Foundation's auction is going on in spite of the environment around us, to do it for the first time virtually. It's always done traditionally in conjunction with the National Trust Conference, and this year virtual for the first time. Thank you so much for joining us. This has always been our biggest fundraiser of the year, and it's so important to help fund our mission of education, advocacy for preservation. Thank you so much for being with us, and with your help, folks that have supported this auction for years and many others who are joining for the first time virtually, welcome, enjoy, and know that your support is helping us continue strong work for historic preservation around this country. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Russ, for that message. Awesome background there from the St. Louis Arches, and shout out to your camera crew, which I think it was just yourself, so it was nice seeing that. And as you guys may already know, our auction has always had a signature cocktail, and this year, this recipe comes from the great state of Michigan.
You received an email with the recipe and the story behind the Hummer drink invented at the Bayview Yacht Club in Detroit, Michigan. But thanks to our board member, Kathy McKeno, we have a brief demonstration video to show you all now.
Hi, I'm Tony Reed. I bartender at Bayview Yacht Club. I've been working here since 1973. I was trained by Jerome Adams, the inventor of the Hummers. He invented the Hummers in 1968. The members gave it the name Hummer. They taste it and they say it makes you want to hum. So that's where the name Hummers come from. The sailors would go to other countries and race. And they would go to other bars and they'd say, hey, give me a Hummer. They didn't understand what's a Hummer. So they would call me or whoever behind the bar and we would explain what a Hummer was. We would tell them it's ice, Kahlua, rum, and ice cream. This is how we make it here because we make so many of them. This is ice cream. Here's the Hummer invented by Jerome Adams
At the Bayview Yacht Club,
at the Bayview Yacht Club.
and I'm going to be lucky enough to be able to drink it. Thank you.
And that was some fun stuff. So thank you, Kathy, for getting that video together. Edward, do you have a drink with you tonight? Did you get yourself a Hummer?
Actually, I don't right now, but what an interesting name. I grew up in West Tennessee, so the only Hummer I knew about prior to that was the vehicle.
Wow. Well, I gotta drink water tonight so I can focus. I got 4 screens in front of me trying to get you guys this live stream going. But we're excited for our supporters like Kathy McKeno, like the people at the Bayview Yacht Club. Kathy is a member of the Preservation Action Foundation, specifically part of the auction committee, because it's not just me and Edward here that you'll see tonight. So with that, let's show off the auction committee. And I'll throw up a slide right now. From the top row, you have Kathy McKeno, Carol Scholl, Bruce McDougall, Rob Naylor, Russ Carnahan, and myself and Edward.
And on the bottom row, we have Stephanie Phillips, Brianna Grasicki, Nancy Finegood, Trisha Logan, Marsh Davis, Elizabeth Rosen, and Lauren McHale. But who picked these pictures? Everyone else is like in a professional setting, and I'm holding a fish. I didn't put that picture in there, but I'm not going to complain.
I mean,
Now
I think Bree just pulled them off of Facebook, and that's the best picture you have, so you can't complain there.
Maybe my Facebook's not as professional as I think.
Well, you know, we can't do it without only the auction committee, but obviously with our sponsors as well. So next up, we'll have a sponsor call out from our friend Matthew Elverson, also from San Antonio. Let's see those sponsors.
Good evening. I'm Matthew Elverson, Preservation Action Board member from San Antonio. I have the privileged honor of thanking our incredible sponsors for this year's event, All In for Advocacy, virtual fundraiser and auction. Thank you to the title sponsor of tonight's keynote presentation, Roy Smith. Roy is a former executive committee member of Preservation Action and a longtime supporter. Thank you, Roy. Our champion sponsors: Marvin, National Trust for Historic Preservation, Bruce and Jill McDougall, Marsh Davis, the City of San Antonio Office of Historic Preservation, GBX. Thank you. Our supporter sponsors: Roush Historic Preservation, Shannon and Hugh Miller, Place Economics, the Craig Group, Carol and Joe Scholl, Peter Primavera Partners, LLC, McRosty Historic Advisors, Manette Bessel, Gray and Pape Heritage Management, EHT Traceries, Kathy McKeno. Thank you.
All right, and we're back. And thank you again to those sponsors. We can't thank them enough. They either support our cause by, sending in direct funds or donated packages, items, spreading the word to their own communities and organizations. So we thank our sponsors once again. And then, so you guys have seen us talk about Preservation Action and its partner foundation, but let's turn it over one more time to Chair Lauren McHale of Preservation Action Foundation to get the last word in.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you're enjoying yourselves so far. My name is Lauren McHale and I'm chair of the Preservation Action Foundation. Preservation Action Foundation was founded in 1998 as the charitable sister organization to Preservation Action. The foundation provides an understanding of federal legislation and policies that affect our nation's historic and cultural resources, and develops inclusive programs that educate current and future preservation advocates. The funds raised here tonight are crucial to our operations, programs, and the ongoing success of our Advocacy Scholars program throughout the year. My heartfelt gratitude goes to our auction donors and sponsors, and to all of you attending tonight's event. We simply cannot do this important work without your support. Cheers!
See, Lauren didn't have the Hummer drink either. But, you know, it's hard to get ice cream during a time like this, you know? Well, that was great. As she mentioned, our signature Advocacy Scholar program is vital because it trains the next generation of preservation advocates and bridges the generational gap between preservationists. So like myself, I didn't even know that you can lobby for historic preservation as a public citizen. I thought you needed like special training and special emails and phone numbers, and not just anyone can walk into the House of Representatives or the Senate, but apparently they let you do that. Did you know that, Edward?
Not until my first advocacy week, but I think that's the idea that most people throughout our country have, that their representatives are kind of off, out of touch from their reach. So, you know, learning more about what Preservation Action does really helps that. And one great thing about Preservation Action Foundation is that we're introducing programs or items like Advocacy Week to young preservationists. But just don't hear it from us. We're going to play a quick video from one of last year's Advocacy Scholars, Alyssa Frostak.
My name is Alyssa Freistack from Chicago, Illinois, and I was a 2020 Preservation Action Advocacy Scholar. So some experiences that stand out in my mind from this past year's event was first and foremost the information and training sessions that were provided for us at the very beginning. So these sessions really helped not only kind of refresh our talking points and get me comfortable speaking about them, but they also, you know, really helped me understand how to build long-lasting and open lines of communication with these elected officials, so that, you know, when it is time for us to really come up with a big ask and even just, you know, show off a great project that's been happening in their district, we're there and we're ready to talk with them, and they're familiar with us. Another really, you know, great memory I had as well was that when we met with one of our congressmen, he was super happy and excited to inform us that just earlier that day, a bill that he had introduced had been unanimously approved and passed out of the committee, which was going to be establishing a National Historic Monument for the site of the Springfield race riots. So it was just really great to see him really excited and proud of the work that he had done advocating for preservation, and he was just so happy to be able to share that news with us kind of as it was happening, which was just so exciting. I think finally this experience really helped me understand how my skill set and my area of expertise can be used to advocate for preservation. I'm already thinking of ways that I can help prepare our delegation next year, if it's in person or virtual, but doing things that can help us advocate, you know, more effectively and with stories and numbers and things like that, to really kind of get across to our elected officials why preservation is important. I really, really enjoyed my time as an advocacy scholar, and I can't wait to keep advocating for preservation in the future.
So there you have it. Alyssa's story isn't unique to preservationists who join us during Advocacy Week. We hear stories all the time about how meeting their congressperson isn't as scary as it is, and it's way more fun than writing a letter to them hoping that they receive it. But that's still important too, so don't forget to write the letters to them. But Alyssa is one of many young preservationists that was able to join us for Advocacy Week, and we're excited that Preservation Action Foundation helps bridge the gap with training and resources that allows preservationists to join the cause. Now, Edward, when does your Young Preservationist card expire?
I think it expired when I started waking up with back pain.
But either way, we're excited to have all kinds of people with us. Next up, we'll share some words from Eric Hine, chair of the National Congregation of State Historic Preservation Officers. But that's a long one. I'll let him say it.
Hi everyone. I want to thank all of you for your support of Preservation Action Foundation this evening. I am Eric Hine, the Executive Director of the National Conference of State Historic Preservation Officers, and I'd like to take just a minute to tell you why your support is so important. The preservation of places that matter to all of us does not happen by accident. Our National Historic Preservation Program relies upon a complex system of laws, regulations, and policies, supported by federal funding and incentives, private investment, and most of all, public involvement. None of this happens by accident. Every year, advocates have to remind their lawmakers how our program works, why it's important, and why it's worth the investment of time and money. Our partnership with Preservation Action is key to the success of that effort. Thanks to the educational and advocacy efforts of Preservation Action, grassroots supporters from all across the country have the information and a platform they need to support the programs that save our historic places. From a personal perspective, the partnership and grassroots efforts of Preservation Action are so important to supporting the work of state and tribal historic preservation officers, certified local governments, and, as a result, historic places all over the country. So please join me in supporting Preservation Action, our grassroots advocates for historic preservation.
All right, so thank you, Nick Schippo, for your continued support, and thank you, Eric, for the video. I wonder whose cannon that was that he shot that in front of.
I don't know. I imagine the American Battlefield Trust may know. But hey, look, every year preservationists engage with members of Congress to support initiatives like the Historic Preservation Fund, Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credit, and grants to HBCUs, civil rights sites, and underrepresented communities. Preservation has and will remain a bipartisan issue. We have special appearances tonight by 3 members of Congress. Let's start off with Congressman James Clyburn. Congressman Clyburn is a former history teacher and a member of the Historic Preservation Caucus, is also the majority whip and the 3rd-ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives. As a national leader, he's been a passionate supporter of historic preservation. He's led the effort to reauthorize and expand historically Black colleges and universities, fund the Historic Preservation Program funded through the Historic Preservation Fund, which to date has preserved and restored more than 60 buildings on HBCU campuses. He's also been a leading voice in advocating for increased funding in African American Civil Rights Historic Preservation Fund grants. His legislation established the Reconstruction Era National Monument in South Carolina's Low Country. Currently, he's helping to lead an effort to expand the Brown versus Board of Education National Historic Site to recognize historic sites in South Carolina, Delaware, and Virginia. Let's hear a message from Representative Clyburn.
Thank you very much for allowing me to participate in your conference. As all of you know, I am a very big proponent of historic restoration and preservation stuff. In fact, I have been working since I've been in the Congress to preserve historic sites and buildings on the campuses of historically Black colleges and universities. That's where the meetings were held that led to those civil rights issues that we were very successful with. Brown v. Board of Education started out as Briggs VA. Those first meetings were in Harnett Hall on the campus of Allen University. So I think it is important for us to preserve these buildings, not to mention what I like to call Ministers Hall down at Claflin University and other buildings as well. And recently, we now have a national park and network here in South Carolina built around the Reconstruction era. Reconstruction era National Park and Network. All of that having to do with helping us to highlight and preserve history that I think is very, very important. I tell the people all the time, we can't change our history, it's there. What we have to do is learn from it, celebrate it, and know what not to repeat again, and know what to call upon and help further. And these buildings are in need of our help going forward. So thank you for the work that you do. I'm pleased to be a part of it. And whenever you think that I can be of assistance, please do not hesitate to let me know.
Important work. So thank you so much, Congressman Clyburn. Up next, we'll have Congressman Mike Turner.
Thanks, Lee. Congressman Mike Turner serves as the longtime co-chair of the Bipartisan Historic Preservation Caucus, which brings together members of Congress who understand the value of historic preservation. In Congress, Representative Turner has been one of the biggest supporters of the historic tax credit, championing efforts to expand and enhance the program through the Historic Tax Credit Growth and Opportunity Act. He's been critical in securing much-needed increases to the Historic Preservation Fund, helping lead the Historic Preservation Fund Dear Colleagues letter for the last several years, which has been called for record funding for the Historic Preservation Fund. While serving as mayor of Dayton, Ohio, he created Rehab-A-Rama, a private-public partnership to rehabilitate neglected housing in Dayton's historic neighborhoods, which has had significant economic impact on the region and received national awards from the National Trust for Historic Preservation and the U.S. Conference of Mayors.
Thank you to all of the groups in attendance today for making this virtual briefing possible, and a very special thank you to Preservation Action for helping put this event together. While unfortunately I can't join you live today as co-chair of the Historic Preservation Caucus, I'm glad to appear before you, and I'm glad to have supported the CARES Act that included much needed support for our communities. I'm certain that all of you are working to keep your communities and families safe. I want to thank you for all of your work to preserve the historic fabric of our nation. Historic preservation stimulates private investment, spurs economic growth, and creates jobs, while revitalizing our communities and protecting our country's cultural heritage. It is for these reasons that you can count on me to continue to support the historic tax credit. Additionally, along with my colleague and caucus co-chair, Mr. Blumenauer, I am proud to support H.R. 2825, the Historic Tax Credit Growth and Opportunity Act, which would boost the federal historic tax credit. H.R. 2825 includes provisions that would expand the use of the credit by making more historic properties eligible and would also enhance the value of the historic tax credit. I greatly appreciate your support for this initiative and others that you'll be discussing today as the Historic Preservation Caucus continues to play an integral role as your partner. You are the experts, and I greatly appreciate working closely with you to support the cause of preserving our historic assets.
And thank you, Congressman Turner. I think San Antonio might have borrowed that Rehab-A-Rama idea from him. And then finally, we regret to inform you that the Congresswoman Rebecca Holland was not able to send us a video in time, but she still sends her support to our organization, our event tonight. So in lieu of a video, we will still celebrate her as one of our preservation champions tonight.
Elected to Congress in 2018 as one of the first two Native American women elected to Congress, Congresswoman Deb Holland has quickly become one of the biggest champions of protecting historical and cultural resources. She serves as vice chair of the Full House Committee on Natural Resources and chair of the Subcommittee on National Parks, Forests, and Public Lands. With her first piece of legislation, she introduced the Antiquities Act, which aims to protect American national monuments from attempts to eliminate or reduce their size. Rep. Holland also helped lead the effort earlier this year to permanently reauthorize the Land and Water Conservation Fund and establish dedicated funding to address the deferred maintenance backlog at our national parks and other public lands. She signed on to the Historic Preservation Fund Dear Colleague letter in 2019 and 2020, which each year called for a record level of funding for the Historic Preservation Fund. She's also a member of the Preservation Caucus. So once again, Rep. Holland, thank you for all that you do. And as someone who enjoys public land, thank you for your support of the Great American Outdoors Act.
Yeah, and it's so encouraging to hear our members of Congress talk about why they personally fight for historic preservation. And as you can see, it's a bipartisan issue. We can all advocate for it, whether it's in jobs in the economy, public housing, or sustainability. It's all there, and anyone can advocate for it. And of course, it takes grassroots advocates like us to make sure that we know that they care about these issues. And it's even more motivating when they actually listen and take action on our behalf.
Certainly. And while we've had many wins in Congress this year for historic preservation, the work's never over. Another key national partner is the National Trust for Historic Preservation. We hope you've registered for their conference that kicks off officially tomorrow, or was that actually today, Lee?
I think there was some bonus sessions today and some affinity meetings.
Make sure you go ahead and check that out. But the National Trust for Historic Preservation is working to equalize the storytelling of America's historic sites. Check out this video from Chris Morris, who is leading the Where Women Made History campaign for the National Trust.
Hello from Los Angeles. My name is Chris Morris of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and I'm excited to give you all a quick glimpse into our new national campaign, Where Women Made History. This multi-year organization-wide campaign is grounded in the reality that every place has a woman's story to tell. But far too often, those histories, struggles, and achievements have been lost or forgotten or deliberately obscured. Uplifting the places and stories of women's contributions is absolutely fundamental to the National Trust's goal of telling a more full and a more truthful American story. And it positions us to begin addressing the structural inequities in how women's roles have been recognized, both past and present.
To ensure that women are part of our national narrative, we must bring them to the forefront in interpretation and programming at historic sites. And the National Trust is leading by example. Our historic stewardship sites are crucibles for experimentation, with programming that repositions women as artists, collaborators, activists, and entrepreneurs. So far, 6 of our sites have expanded their women's history programming virtually, and I encourage you to check them out online. And there's even greater potential for this type of creative, inspiring, and educational reinterpretation across our collection of 44 historic artists' homes and studios. Later this year, we'll add 4 new sites of female artists to the network, which will continue to grow in the coming months and years with a focus on artists who are women and women of color. Most of you know that the National Trust is all about saving places, and you can rest assured that's a critical component of Where Women Made History. Our recent 11 Most Endangered Places listing included a majority of places associated with diverse women, from overlooked architect Natalie DeBlois, who is an integral part with some of Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill's most prominent projects, to African-American opera singer and teacher Madam Mary Cardwell Dawson, founder of the National Negro Opera Company in her Philadelphia home, to Yates Memorial Hospital in Ketchikan, Alaska, where dedicated women worked tirelessly as nurses to care for the sick and injured on America's frontier during a period of explosive growth. With over 500 media stories and 1.3 billion media impressions, we've brought enormous and long overdue attention and support to these threatened sites of women's history. We're also tackling new Where Women Made History National Treasures projects, like the Mitchell Family Law Office in the Upton neighborhood of West Baltimore, Maryland, a hub for local and national civil rights advocacy for nearly half a century, thanks to the pioneering team of Lily Carroll Jackson and her daughter Juanita Jackson Mitchell, who grew Baltimore's NAACP branch to be the largest in the nation and pioneered nonviolence resistance tactics and grassroots campaigns to fight segregation, which are still incredibly relevant today. Thanks to our partners at Benjamin Moore, 4 to 5 women's history sites across the country will get a new look over the next year, with the donation of hundreds of gallons of Benjamin Moore paint products and promotional videos that document their transformation and highlight the women involved with each project. Make sure to follow the progress of our first 2 sites, the stunning and groundbreaking Women's Building in San Francisco's Mission District and the Oddfellows Hall in downtown Astoria, Oregon. To achieve our goal of activating and including more women and girls in the preservation movement, we're developing a range of training programs, including a new model for our Hope Crew projects that are by, for, and about women. All female or majority female student teams will build their confidence and technical skills by working closely with female staff, craft experts, and women-led organizations to help restore prominent places associated with women's history and achievement. I hope you all enjoy the Past Forward Conference this year, And I'd be remiss if I didn't put in a plug for the Women's Affinity Session taking place at 5 p.m. on October 27th. I invite you all to join me for a lively and provocative discussion at Women's History Isn't Just for Women, sharing the real past with everyone. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for that important work. So when we mentioned that sound preservation policy earlier in our mission statement, this is one of those many examples of efforts that we aim to support, from HBCUs to Indigenous and Native sites to where women make history, which, as Chris said, is everywhere. So now it's time for our keynote speaker, Dr. Lee. So if Dr. Lee, if you're watching the stream, feel free to come join in our room. Edward will give a brief introduction to her as hopefully she joins from the waiting room.
For sure, and as we mentioned, tonight we'll hear from Dr. Lisa Lee giving a special presentation about the work she's doing to start the National Public Housing Museum. Dr. Lisa Young Lee is a cultural activist and the executive director of the National Public Housing Museum, an associate professor in art history and gender and women's studies at the University of Illinois at Chicago. She's also teaching faculty with the Prison Neighborhood Art Program and a member of the Chicago Torture Justice Memorials. She has published books and articles about the aesthetics and politics of public art and the potential of museums as radical sites of resistance and for participatory democracy. Lisa serves as a co-chair of the Mayor Lori Lightfoot's Arts and Culture Transition Team and is currently on the Mayor's Committee for the evaluation of monuments, memorials, and historical reckoning. She is currently a board member of the Field Foundation, 3 Arts, and the Illinois State Museum Board. Dr. Lee, we're excited to have you. We're excited to hear from Dr. Lee. So at this time, we and I will mute ourselves and give you the stage, Dr. Lee.
So we're still waiting for Dr. Lee to join in. So at this time, we're going to grab her from the waiting room. Oh, wait, just in time. There we go. Hi, Dr. Lee.
Hi.
Wow, perfect timing. We didn't even need to throw up the 3-minute timer for you. So I made you the presenter, and I'm going to make you the active camera. So once again, we are excited to have Dr. Lee. You heard Edward's introduction. This is going to be important, cool, and creative presentation. Hopefully I didn't sell it too much, Dr. Lee. And Edward and I will meet ourselves, and we'll hand it off.
Great. Thank you so much, you two, for all of your wonderful work, and obviously also to Preservation Action. And most of all, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight at the auction, and I want to thank you for supporting the work of preservation. Although we are all in very many different places because of this virtual event, I want to acknowledge that I reside within the traditional homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi people. Chicago is the site of trade, travel, and gathering and healing for more than a dozen other Native tribes, and is still home to over 100,000 tribal members in the state of Illinois. Please take a moment today to find out about the history of the land where you reside. At this moment, as the twin viruses of COVID-19 and racism ravage our communities, with global uprisings making demands for racial and economic justice, and when the night air is filled with protest chants about defunding the police and armed militia and curfews are commonplace, with a major election taking place just 1 week from now, what is the role of preservation? Tonight, I want to share the work of the National Public Housing Museum as a way of advancing the role of preservation as a catalyst for making our nation more accountable to both our most beautiful stories and also our most troubled histories. As a preservationist, I believe our work is to call to action to our nation to build a more diverse, inclusive, and accessible foundation for the stories we value. And in this way, preservation is not really about the past at all, but about bringing us together to create a collective future. But in order to do this, preservation practices and strategies must help to ensure a record and documentation of history that can be an emancipatory practice rather than one history of oppression and silence. The National Public Housing Museum is a museum that was founded by public housing residents in the wake of urban transformations that dismantled many of the high rises and housing projects across the nation. In Chicago, for example, the Chicago Housing Authority launched an ambitious effort called the Plan for Transformation, with a massive $1.6 billion budget funded for the most part by the federal government's HOPE 6 program, an acronym for Home Ownership Opportunities for People Everywhere. The plan proposed a fundamentally new approach to public housing in Chicago in order to address crumbling buildings, racial segregation, entrenched neighborhoods of poverty, and rising violence. One of the first actions was the bulldozing of 11 high-rise public housing developments that, when demolished, represented the largest net loss of affordable housing in the history of the United States. Say their names: Robert Taylor Homes, Cabrini Green, Stateway Gardens, Ida B. Wells Homes, Jane Addams Homes, Harold Ickes Homes, Grace Abbott Homes, Henry Horner Homes, Randolph Towers, Loomis Courts. The names of the projects conjure feelings and thoughts in the popular imagination, usually not of the vibrant communities that live there, nor the people who formed imaginative and complex networks of support and long-lasting friendships while facing myriad struggles that included police acting with impunity and brutality, disinvestment in neighborhoods due to urban renewal policies that privilege some communities while negatively impacting others, and crumbling buildings due to deferred maintenance, but of stereotypes of what it meant to be poor and Black in America. Due to a long and deeply racialized history, public housing and the people who live there have been regarded with deep suspicion and resentment. The mythical figure of someone living large and benefiting from government handouts has frequently eclipsed the glaring reality of actual families deeply in need of support, living in poverty due to misfortune, the injustices of capitalism, and the long-term effects of racism and the legacy of slavery. Public housing residents came together in the early 2000s, even as the buildings were coming down, and even as protests were happening to preserve housing, to insist that their history could not be erased from the landscape. And working closely with scholars, preservationists, and housing advocates, and after a long struggle, we finally secured a permanent home for our museum, this last remaining building of the Jane Addams Homes, a WPA housing project designed by lead architect John Hollibird. Like many historic sites, our largest artifact is the building itself. The balconies, for example, of our building tell an extraordinary history of architects and advocates working to ensure that outdoor space was a right of all people, not just a privilege of the wealthy, and also for an argument about how planned housing could help address public health issues. In our interpretation efforts, we decided not to focus solely on the famous architect or a few famous inhabitants in the home, but instead to focus on our mission to preserve, promote, and propel the right of all people to have a place they can live and prosper, a place to call home. And we would realize our mission by committing to telling the everyday stories of people through everyday objects. I do not like to say that we are helping to give a voice to the voiceless, because as the writer and activist Arundhati Roy reminds us, there is no such thing as the voiceless. There is only the intentionally silenced and preferably unheard. The old adage, history is written by the winners, holds true for museums and historic sites and preservation that all too often simply replicate and reinscribe power and privilege. One of our most successful exhibits, co-curated with photographer and public historian Rich Cahan, was called History Lessons. The Letterman jacket of a varsity basketball champion, Nate Lufrano, one of the first residents of the Jane Addams Homes, who was also the third grade marbles champion of Chicago. or the construction tools of Eugene Clark, who lived in Ida B. Wells' homes, but was forced to migrate south in order to get his union card before returning to Chicago to become a master brick mason who helped to build Stateway Gardens. Or the motorcycle jacket of legendary Cabrini Green resident leader Marion Nidzinga Stamps, and the golden cruiserweight boxing belt of champion Leroy Johnson, who lived in Robert Taylor homes, but who missed his chance to go to the Olympics because of the boycott that year, were the objects of our most precious artifacts in this exhibit. And we worked with poets like Nate Marshall and writer Audrey Petty to invite residents and their families to help write their own labels for these objects. Instead of an omniscient voice of the curator, we shared authority with the residents and recognized, as writer Rebecca Solnit reminds us, it's always someone else's story first, and it never stops being their story too, no matter how well you tell it and how widely you spread it. We are thrilled to be collecting and preserving these everyday objects from public housing residents from across the country because they have important stories to tell. The artifacts owned by women, people of color, and the working classes have not traditionally been part of collecting practices, preservation practices, and interpretive strategies of museums. However, whether you are a historic house like Monticello or Mount Vernon, or a house by Frank Lloyd Wright, or the Jane Addams homes, these houses bear the lingering traces of stories of the laboring hands that built and cleaned them, the sexual politics of the bedroom, the racial politics of a city, the immigration politics of the nation, and other telling secrets about the past, as long as we are willing to venture unafraid into unfamiliar terrain and to be truly open to what we might discover. The museum will also tell the national history of public housing through the intimate oral histories of different families who lived in Jane Addams homes in several different eras. For example, in the first apartment, we will recreate the apartment of Inez Turovitz-Metter and her husband, a Jewish family, and in the apartment will include a recreated kosher kitchen that tells the marvelous stories of immigration and upends the normal stereotypes of who lived in public housing. The second apartment will tell the stories of redlining, and we will ask the important question, why are people poor in the United States, and how did they get poor, and what were the policies like redlining that actually enabled some people to move out of public housing and other people who couldn't. The third apartment will also be an African-American historic site that tells both the story of Reverend Marshall Hatch and his family, who lived in the Jane Addams homes with their father and mother, who were so committed to education that they refused to allow the children to watch television, until the Reverend Martin Luther King came up north to Chicago for the Chicago Freedom Summer to work ending housing segregation. In the family's oral histories, Rhoda Hatch tells us that they were only allowed to watch TV when MLK or Coretta Scott King were on TV. And so for a long time, they thought the box was MLK TV. So in this apartment, we will not only have the pet birds, who were called Martin and Luther, but also introduce histories to the story of the Chicago Freedom Movement. The story of MLK and Coretta when they joined residents to fight for open housing, the racism that they faced in the city streets, and the important moment when Martin Luther King was brutalized in his march for open housing, and where he said, I have never, even in Mississippi and Alabama, seen mobs as hateful as in Chicago. This is important history for all of us that can be told through the eyes of the young Reverend Marshall Hatch. We have worked meticulously to preserve aspects of the built environment in the home and the apartments, including things like the wallpaper and every layer of paint through these preserved architectural details, the decoration, the design history. We will be able to tell even more stories. For example, in the Reverend Hatch's apartment, we noticed that there was an odd green paint that was resident in so many public housing photos that we saw. As we went through the research books, we noticed that this green paint was actually filled with lead. And it was also the story of the young Barack Obama as he came to Chicago as a community organizer to fight for environmental justice with Hazel Johnson. So through just the small paint chip that we recovered in our apartment, we can open up an entire universe of stories around environmental justice. We're proud to be a member of the International Sites of Conscience because we are committed to saying that in order to solve today's most resident social justice struggles, we must go back in time and ask what we have not yet learned from history. In order to make history relevant and to make preservation relevant, we must actually link that to today's struggles and to what people are grappling with. Like any artifact in the museum, the Jane Addams Homes contains inconsistencies in the historical record concerning how people lived, how rooms were decorated, how they were inhabited and used. Rather than bury or attempt to definitively resolve these contradictions, we embrace the problem as opportunities to be as capacious as possible. And we've created an oral history archive to record and preserve the stories of how people lived, welcoming multiple voices and sometimes even conflicting stories. Through an oral history training program, we teach public housing residents the methodology and ethics of oral history, and then hire them to become part of our cultural workforce to help gather these stories, which are valuable, creative, and cultural capital. Stories that can inform innovative public policy and can teach us so much. We have created platforms for these stories that you can listen to in programs like Out of the Archives, which grapple with the history of entrepreneurship, with race, and with class, and with gender. And we now partner with housing authorities, like a recent effort with NYCHA, to do this work nationally. Taped to my computer screen is a quote by Susan Buck Morse. "Facts should inspire imagination rather than tying it down. The less they are subsumed under the fiction of secure knowledge, marshaled as proof of a predetermined authoritative thesis, the more truth they are capable of revealing. Instead of defending an intellectual turf, the point of scholarly debate should be to extend the horizon of historical imagination." I love this quote so much, and this notion beautifully sums up the museum's understanding of the role of historic sites in museums and of preservation in the 21st century. In a time when data and facts are so easily retrieved on the internet and through other electronic sources, the power of place asserts itself through the ability of material culture, historical objects, and buildings to affectively summon a feeling about our connection to the past, a sense of responsibility, of collective history, and to instigate our imagination about the future. Our connection to this history is made possible through the practice of preservation. In the museum, there is so much more, like these beautiful Edgar Miller sculptures, which we found in this condition and have also preserved and will present in a public sculpture garden in the museum. I've spent my life as a preservationist at 2 different sites now, the Jane Addams Homes and now at the National Public Housing Museum. It is sometimes assumed that the extraordinary history of social justice and struggle for equality that took place at the Hull House settlement, or that fact that public housing is a progressive policy, allows me to conduct preservation in a more inclusive way. But it is really our willingness to see preservation as a tool for freedom rather than a means for gatekeeping, and the embrace of ordinariness and the everyday people that foregrounds my practice. All historic houses and sites have stories to tell about the ordinary people who worked and labored in them, passed through their doors, and their hopes, their dreams, and disappointments. Studs Terkel, the great public historian and storyteller, was fond of saying, "Ordinary people are capable of doing extraordinary things, and that's what it's all about. They must count." I am not naive about the power, privilege, and politics at play in preservation's own history. The stories of so-called ordinary people are compelling, and they challenge authority, and they have the capability of transforming people, institutions, and societies. And the work that we do in preservation and the call for us to renew the field is nothing less than a truly liberatory practice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, I just want to invite all of you out there to join us in this magnificent effort of the National Public Housing Museum. There's sort of a slide up now that you can see of how to contact me, how to get engaged in our campaign. And I agree with you that what we're doing is not something which is opposed to the field of preservation as it has been practiced. It's really returning to the roots of why preservation matters, and it sort of, celebrates. And so I disagree with you. I think preservation is really all about collective joy all the time and seeing the true beauty in the built environment around us. And so I really invite all of you to join us in this project, and thank you so much for everything that you all do out there.
All right, and with that,
Dr. Lee,
oh, go ahead.
Well, actually, yeah, Dr. Lee, really quickly, we have a question for you, real quick. It's come from one of our listeners or watchers. So the question is, how can preservation better align itself with the working class to address the very real housing insecurity faced by these communities?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the sort of really important things is that to recognize how important public history is, that we cannot begin to approach the problems that people are facing today with around housing insecurity, around racial segregation, around sort of the fact that there's a huge gap in the racial economic gap in sort of people who own homes and people who don't, without actually taking history seriously and sort of saying, how did we actually get here and what can we learn from history, right? And so I think it's not so much about alignment, but about addressing the historical amnesia that we have and to sort of take that history seriously and to say, what can it actually teach us? And what we will see, for example, is that housing insecurity is something which has become bifurcated. And so the movements, for example, to address homelessness or to address public housing or affordable housing are actually really disparate now, but at its root, if we were to go back and look on the war on poverty that this nation sort of was facing and addressing in the 60s, this was a sort of unified movement demanding housing as a human right. And this is something that is not so foreign to us today, but it's only foreign because we've sort of forgotten this history, right? If we're trying to understand our segregated history, or segregated cities, we need to go back and look at the 1937 Housing Act and understand, sort of how the federal policies had institutionalized segregation from jump and what would it take to actually dismantle that. And so for us, I think in preservation, it's really about saying that, in order to align with the social justice struggles of today, the issues that we approach, the buildings that we preserve, the stories that we tell, we need to make those stories relevant to people.
Thank you,
Dr. Lee. And well, with that, we'll let you off to the rest of your evening. We really appreciate you dropping those knowledge bombs on us. It's very important, and thank you again for sharing your message and your cause with us. Make sure everyone who's watching to visit National Public Housing Museum, nph.org. Bye.
Bye. I'm trying to leave you now, but I'm not exactly figuring out how to do it. Sorry. All right, I'll figure it out.
All right.
Well, yes, it's time for Marsh to come on in and join us. Marsh, you want to jump on in the room?
All right. So while Marsh gets in here, we're gonna play another testimony video from a previous winner and package donator tonight. So let's hand it off to Caitlin Cotton.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Cotton. I live in Washington, D.C., and I'm the Director of Marketing and Design at Place Economics. And as many folks know, I'm an avid bidder every year at the Preservation Action Foundation auction. I've won a variety of prizes throughout the years, including some very fun enamel pins of Jane Jacobs and Frederick Law Olmsted. I still wear those to conferences every year. I've won guest passes to the National Building Museum here in Washington, D.C. It's my favorite museum in the city. I always bring guests when they come to visit, and so it was great to have extra guest passes to share. And then last year, I won a travel package from Maryland Milestones, which made for a really fun staycation. It got me outside of the city into Maryland to see a lot of sites that I probably wouldn't have gone to on my own. So I'm very grateful to Preservation Action for all the fun trips and experiences I've been able to take as a result of their auction. I'm very excited this year to be a part of the auction. I've donated my services as a graphic designer to be bid on, and I'm very, very much looking forward to working with the successful bidder. And I look forward to seeing you all in the auction. Thank you very much.
All right, so you heard Caitlin. There's over 60 items that we have in the silent auction, and 7 that we're going to have here tonight. Hey, welcome, Marsh. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good, good. All right, your audio's good. Your camera's good. I'm going to throw up another overlay to see what we got going on tonight.
Well, I'm not too early, am I?
No, you're actually right on time. So this is the part where Edward and I can loosen up a bit, because this is the unscripted part. We don't know how it's going to go tonight. We have all kinds of packages for you. Make sure that you have your hand bid open on one screen and your YouTube on another, because tonight we're going to close 7 of our biggest items. So with that, Edward, if you want to introduce Marsh, or maybe Marsh can introduce himself.
I'll let Marsh introduce himself, but it's got to accompany a song on the Baby Grand behind you.
Oh, come on, man. You should introduce me. I don't want to introduce you.
Well, all right, let's see here. So Marsh is immediate past chair of Preservation Action. He is also executive director at Indiana Landmarks, my home state. So Marsh and I ran into each other a few times during my education at Ball State University. Marsh, tell us what room you're in right now.
Well, greetings from the Indiana Landmark Center. We're in the Grand Hall at our Indiana Landmark Center, which is our state headquarters. It's a restored church. The room I'm in was constructed in 1891.
Oh, wow. And do you know how to play piano by chance?
Not really, no. No, it's we have a beautiful Steinway. We have a beautiful pipe organ. I can show you the pipe organ here. That. But this is our state headquarters. It's also a center for culture and arts and performance in our state. And we're very, very proud to be here. It's a wonderful facility and great place to work too. Shall we get going with this?
Yes. Okay. So we have 7 items tonight. Like I said, make sure you're logged into your handbid account. You probably are if you received the email and text notifications to join us on the live stream. We're trying to bid as live as possible, so make sure you have your credit card filled in, so that all you need to do is press bid as Marsh, Edward, and I banter about trying to pitch you these packages. With that, I think we're going to start off with the Pass Forward 2021 registry. Oh, wait.
May I just say a few words first?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
A little preamble to this. First, cheers, gentlemen. I'm not drinking a Hummer, but this is something a little more tropical. In the hopes that we will get together soon when the weather.
I've just got water here, but I may jump to something else here in a minute.
Well, all respect to the Hummer, it's a bit sweet, but great for Michigan. All right. Well, it's time to say, wow, what a lot of intellectual content we've just been through in the last almost hour, I think. And I hope that this intellectual depth has unleashed your animalistic desire to spend money. Now we're going to get off the serious stuff. And I want to thank you, gentlemen, we and Edward, for putting this virtual auction together. I've had the dubious pleasure of being the de facto auctioneer for this event for the last 4 years. But this is our first attempt, as you've heard, to do it in a virtual format. I really wish we could all be together. It's so much more fun, and but we can't. So let's make the best of it, and please bear with us if we have any little technical glitches. These guys are terrific and technically savvy. So one thing to note, that when you bid, and you will bid because that's the point of being here, right? I mean, if you're not going to, that's the whole point. But when you do bid, I encourage you to get your bids in early. Don't wait, don't hold back. Don't be the kind of, like in a live auction, some people think they want to finesse things a little bit and do the no, there's no room for psychology here. We're all working off of a screen. So get your bid in early, and there may be a little bit of a delay between the time you make your bid and the time that it registers. But I have full confidence in and Edward, they'll be able to manage this very smoothly.
Yeah, so you just saw that live. Shannon Miller outbid Peter right now, and we'll see a lot more of that tonight if you guys get your cards ready.
Keep it
and
going.
Peter outbid Shannon again.
You can bid now. You can get on the site and bid now on these things. So don't hold back. If you see something out there you want, get in there and bid, because we're gonna take it to a new level. But before getting on, can I just say a few words about Preservation Action and Preservation Action Foundation? I know you've heard a lot of testimonials, but I've been a member of Preservation Action for a long time. I mean, I go back to the Nellie Longsworth days before you guys were even born. And I participated in more advocacy weeks. We used to call them lobby days. Now we call them advocacy week, but I participated in more of these than I care to remember. In fact, more than I can remember. But with each year, I have a greater appreciation for this organization. It grows stronger. And that's because Preservation Action is collaborative, it's prolific in its output, and it's effective in motivating and mobilizing citizens across this country to engage in public policy making. And it's been doing it consistently and effectively since 1974. It's a lean operation, as it always has been, but it's highly efficient. Russ Carnahan, our president, along with Rob Naylor and Bruce McDougall, comprise an outstanding team of staff. Preservation Action is ably chaired by Brianna Krosicki, and Preservation Action Foundation by Lauren McHale, you heard from earlier. And their boards are populated by talented, diverse, and smart, and increasingly young people who will carry the historic preservation movement into the future with great ability and conviction. And I exclude myself from those descriptors of young and smart and talented, but I'm proud to be the continuity with the past on the board of Preservation Action. But this is a young and dynamic group, and I feel greatly confident about the future of the preservation movement from working with people like Edward and we. So this auction is critical to sustaining Preservation Action and Preservation Action Foundation. So please, when you bid as though the law depends upon it, because it does. All right, can we get at it?
All right.
Now, okay.
Ready.
Thank you for that. So let's go.
All right, what item you want to call first?
I thought we'd do the best of New Orleans. It's a great package. I would start off with a bang. Don't you think we do that one?
Sure thing. All right, so let's load up a video from Danielle Del Sol.
Hi, I'm Danielle Del Sol, Executive Director of the Preservation Resource Center of New Orleans and board member of Preservation Action. I am so excited to be able to offer a fabulous New Orleans travel package for you to bid on. We want you to bid, support Preservation Action, and come visit us in New Orleans. I'm filming live from St. Charles Avenue here in Uptown New Orleans, and it's a gorgeous October day, 80 degrees. Any time of the year that you come visit us is wonderful. So book your trip now by winning this auction. Included is a wonderful 2-night stay at the Chloe, which is literally the newest, chicest boutique hotel in town. You'll also enjoy benefits of membership to the Preservation Resource Center as part of this package. You will receive a year-long membership to the PRC, which includes benefits such as receiving our wonderful award-winning magazine, Preservation in Print, straight to your door every month. You'll also get a PRC swag bag, including a tote bag, a face mask to keep you safe during your stay, a copy of our beautiful coffee table book, Building on the Past, Saving Historic New Orleans, that'll keep you entertained while you're here. Not that you'll need any help. As you know, New Orleans is known for its incredible food, drinks, and music, so you'll have plenty to do. There's also literally never a bad time to visit New Orleans. I'll also be thrilled to meet the auction item winner personally and take you on a tour of the French Quarter. You can feel safe traveling to New Orleans in this scary time. People in the city are truly taking the pandemic seriously, wearing masks and socially distancing wherever we are. So you can come to New Orleans and enjoy all that our 302-year-old city has to offer, feeling safe, and especially when you're wearing your Preservation Resource Center mask. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope that you will bid.
And we're back. Wow, and looks like Shannon jumped right in there. That was a great video from Danielle. We love to see it from Preservation Resource Center of New Orleans. We already have 12 bids tonight at Shannon Miller leading the pack with $825.
All right, let's go here. I mean, that's barely more than what Donald Trump paid in taxes. So let's get better than that. Let's start at $2,000. Anybody give $2,000? Let's start at $2,000. Everybody loves New Orleans. You can't beat this package. And a place that is not even open yet you'll be the first to experience this wonderful restaurant and hotel. So anybody give $2,000.
If you have your finger on the bid button, you better press it now.
Do it.
I know Edward's been eyeing this package. Go ahead, Edward. Why don't you put down $2,000 right now? I know your wife's in the background making sure you bid on this one.
I think we decided we were going to hold off for Savannah for now. We were, I don't know. Look, I love New Orleans. If y'all are like me, you'll go to New Orleans and you'll eat and you'll eat and you'll eat. So look, here's a great opportunity for you to go to New Orleans. In my opinion, probably the city in our country that has the best culture that you're going to find in a state that has some of the greatest culture that you'll find. We're all familiar with New Orleans, but as Marsh said, look, let's get on this and let's bid high.
Do we have anybody at 2,000? Anybody bid yet?
Come on,
okay. Let's go to 1,000. Let's start at 1,000.
If we get it to 1,000, we could reach the value of the package, and we'll start off strong for the night. 825 is still good, and Peter just came in outbidding Shannon. Good. We're at 875, so the live auction Shannon is working.
Shannon, Hugh, you're out there too. Get in on this. Hugh, don't let Peter take
Shannon.
Come on, let's do $1,200. Anybody? $1,200. This is a great package.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think New Orleans is probably the most endearing city in America. With all respect to everybody else, it's just people love it. It's you know, it's got it all. It's got food, it's got the music, it's got the architecture. There's a wonderful climate, and I can't imagine a more fun place to visit. Do we have anything? Is Peter still in the lead?
Oh yeah, Peter's still in the lead. And
what do we need? What's Peter at? What's the bid?
We're at 875.
Okay, 875. Let's go 1,000. $1,000. We'll give 1,000 for this great package.
1,000, and we could close it for the night. Otherwise, we might hold it off to see those people still typing in their credit card numbers.
Let's give it a minute. I think $1,000. We don't get a bid for 1,000. This is not about getting the value. It's part of that, but it's also about supporting Preservation Action Foundation. This is the mainstay of this organization. And without a successful auction, we are going to have a very, very rough year. So please, as I said, give as though the life of this organization depends upon it. Bid as though the life of this organ, because it really does. It really does. Do we have $1,000 yet?
Not yet, not yet. So maybe we can we'll go to the next one and we'll return to this one. But we're looking at 2 or 3 live bids tonight. So make sure your credit card and your account's ready, just so you could click that simple button.
All right, let's go to the. I think the next one is the Pass Forward 2021 registration and hotel for the National Trust. Thank you, National Trust, for sponsoring this. Do we have something to play for this?
Yes, we do.
Gentlemen? All right, roll it.
Hello, everyone. This is Rhonda Sienkiewicz with the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and we are happy to continue the tradition of offering a conference package for the Preservation Action Auction. This year, the package includes not only complimentary registration, but also a 2-night stay at the conference hotel, which is the Omni Shoreham in Washington, D.C. We hope to see you next year. Happy bidding.
And we're back, and Peter is still in the lead here at $560. Now, I know the conference for 2020 just started today, but you can't ever be too early, and especially if there is hope that we'll return back to normalcy live in Washington, D.C. next year. That was actually the first trust conference that I went to in the Premier Hotel. You heard Rhonda Sienkiewicz. You probably saw her in some of the panels today. So get in there.
Former employee of Preservation Action, Rhonda Sienkiewicz.
Oh, really?
Yes. Well, so where are we? We on this?
We're at 560 with Peter Primavera, and you guys can't just let Peter buy every item. Get in there.
All right. Well, this, again, this is not just about dollar for dollar value. This is about supporting Preservation Action Foundation, and supporting the educational programs, the advocacy scholars, the great work. If any of you are out there that have benefited from the tax credit program, whether you're a nonprofit organization, a developer, you need to support Preservation Action. We deserve your support. And I tell this I get my developer friends, and when I try to recruit support for Preservation Action each year, and they say, well, they kind of whine about it. I said, wait a minute, you've been making all this money as a big ass developer doing projects that we little guys at the front end save the buildings, and we advocate for the policies that make money for you. So be generous. Be generous. So any of you are out there, just bid on this. Who gets $600?
So while you were talking, Thomas outbid Peter, but then Peter outbid Thomas again.
Peter really wants.
So where are we?
We're at 660 with 10 bids in.
660. Come on, 700. Let's get 700 on this. I'll tell you what, we'll close it at 750. Somebody bids 750, we'll close it, all right? Somebody want to do a good thing for Preservation Action and Preservation
And
Action
Sabrina
Foundation?
Cox just came in at 760.
760, I'm going to close it, right?
All right, that's our first closed item. Thank you. All right, well, thank you, Sabrina. Let me try to close that from my end. Nobody bid after her. And then why don't you guys talk up the next one while I load up on my end?
Can we go back to New Orleans? Can we go back to New Orleans for a minute? Okay. Am I allowed to bid?
You are.
Yeah.
Am I allowed? What was the bid on New Orleans? It was like something pathetic.
Let's see, pulling up now. And New Orleans just got to 925, so we're so close to closing it.
Put me in at 1,000. Somebody wants it for Northern. Put me in for 1,000.
All right, Marsh is in for 1,000. So
I know the house isn't supposed to bid, but I'm not really the house. I'm just some jerk because nobody else will do this. So yeah, we'll hold that one for later. It's too good of a package, but I just want to get it going. We'll hold that for later. We're not going to close it at 1,000, but hope we don't end up there. Let's go on to experience Let's relax in northern Michigan.
Okay, so this one is a fun one. Let's pull it up. So the funny thing here is that Kathy McKenna was so busy drinking those Hummers and getting us that video that she wasn't able to make a video for this item. But I'm gonna pull up the slide and then I'm gonna read the description to you guys. So just one moment. All right, so this package includes experienced summer nights in northern Michigan. Generously donated by Preservation Action Board member Kathy McKenna, this package includes a 4 to 5 night stay in Bay Harbor Vacation Home, a $100 gift certificate to Spare Key Winery located on a Centennial Farm. The 5-bedroom home is located on Quarry Golf Course at Bay Harbor Golf Club, so don't miss this spectacular opportunity on the shores of Lake Michigan.
And can you tell us what the span of time is available in northern Michigan?
I think it doesn't say, so I think you just coordinate with Kathy and she sees what's available. While we were talking about northern Michigan, Kathy McKenna actually came in to bid for the New Orleans package at $1,025. So should we close it or should we see what's going on with her own package? Okay,
that's too good of a package. Let's keep it open.
Let me.
Sorry, Kathy. Sorry, Kathy. We're going to keep it open. We'll go back to it. But Michigan.
Where the Michigan one's at.
We got a lot of great Michiganders that have signed up for this. I presume they're out there because they signed up for this thing. We've got people like Mark Rodman. Mark, you're kind of new to Michigan. You ought to get in on this. Nancy Finegood. And you're sort of retired, but go relax in northern Michigan. Have fun, and
So
drink all that wine. I saw lots of wine in the promo for this, like 8 bottles of wine, but maybe $100. Yeah. I think Janet Krieger signed up for this. What?
We're at $700 with Donovan Ripkema with Place Economics, one of our sponsors. So it can't just be internal exchanging of packages here. We gotta get new faces in. Patricia Kehoe just came in with $800. So we're off to a good start. These live numbers are coming in. We're having a good time.
Let's go to 900.
Oh, whoa, it's jumping. Kevin Berg just came in with 900.
Let's do 1,000.
For you folks that live in the South, just think about northern Michigan in about July or August. Let's keep these bids coming in.
It's glorious. It is just the best. I see Janet Krieger's
Kevin
on this
came
call
back
too.
in. Kevin Krulowicz with 950. We're close to closing if you guys want to really push the hump.
No, let's get to 1,000 before we think about closing it. This is spectacular. $1,000. We'll give 1,000. Anybody out there?
I mean, Airbnbs are expensive. With 5 bedrooms, you could either use it to bring your whole family or to get away from your family, so you can enjoy your golf and wine.
$1,000. Somebody's going to give 1,000 for this. Anybody?
Coming in. I know. Just
Kevin,
press that bid button.
Kevin Krulowicz is a good Indianapolis man, by the way. So.
And Donovan Ripkema just came back with $1,000.
Donovan, all right. Kevin, you back in? How about 1,100? Don't let some guy from North Dakota snatch your bid. Come on.
I think the pace of things now that we got a feel for it. Let's go through each item, and then maybe on the second return, that's when we'll close.
Okay.
So don't forget, right now we have we already talked about New Orleans. We talked about the Trust Conference. We talked about Northern Michigan. Oh, we closed the Trust Conference. We got New Orleans and Northern Michigan still open.
So now we've got a virtual group tour of Lower East Side Tenement Museum for 25 people. This is a huge package. 25 people, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, or I think like up to a class or a field trip or a nonprofit org. But here, I'll play the video so we'll all see.
Roll it.
Good afternoon, friends.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome everyone to the Tenement Museum.
Bonjour, hello.
The Tenement Museum's private virtual events offer experiences like no other.
we provide unique opportunities to stay connected with your family, friends, alumni group, book club, or company. Your group can visit the museum from anywhere in the world.
We're going to learn about the history of pickles.
These two buildings are really the heart of the Tenement Museum.
And the Tenement Museum hired Dr. Geismar as an archaeologist.
During a live interactive event, a tenement museum educator takes you inside our historic tenement buildings. Using video, oral histories, and expert commentary, the educator immerses you in the stories of the immigrant and migrant families who lived in our recreated apartments. Just like in-person tours, groups will learn about daily life in the past, explore our spaces, and create connections between history and the present. As families, friends, and coworkers look for new ways to share experiences, the Tenement Museum is exploring virtual avenues where people can be immersed in our stories, connecting them with the past and with each other.
So I really like this one because not only can you learn about the Tenement Museum and tenements, but you can learn from them, because the unique thing about, the people that are watching is a lot of you come from nonprofit organizations, grassroots preservationists, consulting groups, public outreach, and there's different approaches to historic preservation, obviously, but the Tenement Museum is premiering their live stream, their virtual event technology. So not only can you learn about them, you could maybe pick up some skills and some ideas and programming on how to bring it back to your own organization. And with up to 25 people, you can bring a classroom, you can make it a co-hosting tour. I'm sure you could work with them. It's a donated item. Shannon started us off strong, but now we're already at $275 from Aaron Berg. The fun thing about the live auction is that I see it changing mid-sentence. Kevin Pape just came in at $300.
Well, let's pause for a second and let the bids keep piling in. Last time I was in New York City, I tried to see the museum. It was so popular. I couldn't get a ticket. It was sold out for the whole day. So this is something, and imagine how many people you can bring in on this. And especially now when we're learning to do things differently, this is really a great opportunity. If you're an educator or nonprofit person or have a big family, this is a great deal. And so let's get at it. So where are we with that?
So as you finish that sentence, Aaron Burr came in at $375.
Anybody give 500 for this?
Kevin Pape back up at 400.
Let's do 500. Anybody give 500?
Bring your whole company. Bring your whole organization.
You get all the benefits, and you have the
And
pleasure.
Shannon Miller came in with 500. Hopefully she'll save a ticket for me, because I would like to join.
How about anybody give 600? Let's go 600. 25 people or more. I mean, this is a huge deal. Any movement?
Not yet. We're
Right.
good at 500.
This is the problem with a virtual auction. You can't get the human dynamic, and you get the peer pressure and stuff.
Yeah, you can't stare them right in the
you're
face.
You're doing great though. Call them out.
Oh, and Aaron Berg with 525.
525. How about 550? 550.
550. Shannon Miller. She really wants the group back at
Let's
home
go
to
600.
join her.
Let's go 600. 600. Who gives 600 for this wonderful package? 600. A bargain. Think of all the. I mean, think about like a Christmas gift for all these people. It's minuscule.
Especially during right now when people are running out of Zoom and virtual event ideas, watching that video, I think they really know what they're doing over there. They're innovating how to interact with people, trying to keep their doors open, but also, sharing the information with us. We're at 19 bids, so there's a lot of movement, but we're capping off at 550 with Shannon right now. So let's
close it at 600. I'm going to give 600. We'll close it out. What do you think? that all right?
I think that's good. And look at it this way, folks. Look, if you've got any type of organization and you have a monthly meeting coming up, or have something to where you get everybody together virtually, this is a great idea. This puts you all together. This puts you all watching something that you're able to talk about. And then this gives you an idea for in the future how you could potentially give a virtual tour of a historic property that you have. So you're going to get multiple benefits from this. So go ahead. Let's get up to 600.
600, because 600 will close.
Well, wait. So while Edward was saying that, Aaron Burke came in at 575. Shannon came back at 600. Peter Primavera came in at 625, and Shannon is back up at 650. She really wants us to join in.
650. Let's go to 700.
I think Peter wants to go 3-0, so let's go 700, Peter.
Yeah,
700.
So, Shannon, Peter's got you on the ropes. We really wanted to close at 600, but we can't now because the ticker's moving too fast.
700.
650. One more is if Peter or Shannon waiting on that button. Click it now.
All right. Who's got it? Peter?
Shannon at 650. Oh, Peter at 675 now.
700. We're going to close it at 700 unless somebody blows past that. So
700 Shannon Miller.
700 going once. Twice. Peter? Because of the delay, I'll wait a second.
5, 4, 3, 2, and close.
Sold.
All right,
Shannon.
that's our second package tonight. Shannon Miller, thank you so much for topping 27 bids at 700. Let's close that one. And then,
all right.
Should we open a new package or return to the old one? I think open a new one.
Let's do a new one.
All right.
What do you got?
Want to do Savannah, Indy, or San Antonio?
Let's do Savannah.
All right, and here's the video.
Hi, I'm Sue Adler, President of Historic Savannah Foundation here in beautiful Savannah, Georgia. We are pleased to offer the Savannah Travel Package for the Preservation Action Foundation auction. This package includes a 2-night stay at the Marshall House, a historic inn built in 1851, located right on Broughton Street. Once you arrive and park your car, you won't need it again during your entire stay. Everything is walkable in our National Historic Landmark District downtown. You will receive a private walking tour by local historian and activist Vaunette Goodwalker of Footprints, Savannah, covering the story of urban slavery, the slave trade, and the cotton trade in Savannah. Next, you will accompany Jamie Cradle, Executive Director of the Davenport House Museum, for a behind-the-scenes tour of our house museum that was saved by 7 ladies in 1955 and which consequently started Historic Savannah Foundation. This package includes copies of 2 books, Old Savannah Cookery and Savannah Square by Square, and a Historic Savannah Foundation membership. We cannot wait to meet you and your family when you arrive for your Savannah trip. So bid high and for this unique opportunity to visit Georgia's first city.
All right, and we're starting off with Philip Thomason at 325. Now, I know that one people haven't been eyeing as much, but Caitlin Cotton just came in at 375. I think there was one in between her too, because now it's up to 5 bids.
This is, folks, this is Savannah. This is $500. I only give $500. Let's move this. $500. Let's get it going. This is way too low for that package. I've stayed at the Marshall House. It's great.
Well, is it great just because it has part of your name in it, or tell us more about it?
Absolutely. It's a wonderful location right there on Broughton Street, just in the heart of things. Savannah's
Trisha Logan came in at 475. Lauren McHale came in at 525.
600. We'll give 600. This is a great package.
Edward, I thought you said Sarah had her credit card loaded up.
She She went to watch TV.
Okay, all you Michigan people who didn't bid on Northern Michigan, go to the opposite season. You head down to Savannah when it's glorious. We need to get some Michigan people.
Caitlin Kahn came in at 625. Peter Primavera came back in at 675. So we're moving.
Let's do 700. Come on, 700 easy. That's $25.
Damn, maybe I should get in on this one. I've never been to Savannah, and people always.
Oh.
I know every city wants to be the flagship historic preservation city, and Savannah's always has their name up. But
Savannah's the first planned city, correct? And you know what? Actually, if you go and look at the items that are in the silent items, if you wanted to, you could actually pair this Savannah package with another package that we have. Is that not right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So
yes.
I need to look and see what package that is. Marsh, do you know off the top of your head which other package?
It's an island. I don't have the list in front of me, but yes.
Actually, between Hilton Head and Savannah, I think. So, yeah, I mean, this is a great package. I want to go to Savannah for a number of reasons, but I'm a fan of the show Chef's Table on Netflix and the restaurant The Gray. You'll need to watch that episode. I won't go into it too much, but it's packed with history, both cultural history and a bit of architectural history. And eating at that restaurant is something that I want to do. So whoever wins this package, make sure that you do go eat at the Gray.
So while Edward was talking, Kathy McKeno came in at 725. Then Peter came back at 775. So now Edward disclosed to me that the real reason he wants this package was for that cookbook. So whoever wins this package, if you could be so inclined to sell that cookbook back to Edward for a discounted price, because he's just trying to cook.
You know, actually, whoever wins this package, just bid super high on the San Antonio package, and whenever you come down, you can bring me that cookbook, and I'll maybe make you something out of it.
Oh,
I don't know how.
All right, let's close this out. Anybody give $1,000? We'll close it out. Let's move it. This is a great opportunity. We can inch it up $25 at 25, but somebody give $1,000. We will close it right now.
Power moves only. Still at Peter for 775. He's got a lot of vacations to go to.
775. Anybody do 800? Let's do. Okay, we'll go back to $25 income. $800. We'll give $800 for this.
But it's fine because we just opened this item. We're gonna go to a different one, and then on our second turnaround, we'll close it for sure.
Right. Let's move it on. What's next?
All right, so Indianapolis or San Antonio, it's either us or you, Marsh. Who wants to present?
Well, you guys are so great. We're going to save you for the last because you deserve the last word. So let's do Indianapolis, and forgive me, I am no Danielle Del Sol. So when you see this, don't compare me to the New Orleans pitch, please.
All right, and here we go.
Hey folks, I got a great Indiana package for you here in Indianapolis, the crossroads of America. This package includes 2 nights for 2 at the historic Columbia Club overlooking Monument Circle, one of the greatest public spaces in the world, in the heart of downtown Indianapolis. You'll be given a personalized tour of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum and a ride around the famed and historic track, home of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. You'll be treated to a tour of the historic Old North Side neighborhood in this 1936 Ford Phaeton before heading to a private dinner at the Morris Butler House, where Indiana's historic preservation movement began. And as a bonus, you'll receive a copy of Indiana Landmark's newly published book, Indiana Landmarks, Rescued and Restored. Support preservation action and bid big.
So you heard Marsh. You saw him in his leather jacket. Oh, he's got a friend here.
He wants to bid $2,000.
Oh no, that's Marsh waiting for someone to bid. So he's actually trying to bid himself so that he can stay in for the weekend instead of having to put on his leather jacket and drive you around. Oh, and Caitlin Cotton just came in at $7.25. Marsh, is that worth you getting out of bed?
It's yes, and it'll be delightful, and I'll add, depending on the schedule, I will add other little niceties like a couple of cocktail parties if depending on if I have any friends left at that time who would open their homes. We'll make it a good time in Indianapolis. It doesn't have to be a weekend. It's dubbed as a weekend, but it doesn't have to be a weekend. It could be a Monday or Tuesday or Thursday and Friday, whatever you want to do. So where are we? We're at 725.
And then Peter just came in at $7.75, taking another vacation away from Caitlin Cotton. Caitlin, do you have enough to take it back? Get in there. Now,
don't humiliate me, folks. Somebody give $1,000 for this.
Now tell me more about that dinner, Marsh.
Well, the dinner, of course, I will respect anyone's, if people have certain dietary considerations, but what I've done in the past is, and it sounds odd because since we have a New Orleans package, but I do make a pretty mean seafood gumbo, which I've served at the Morris Butler House before. It's totally incongruous with Indianapolis, but unless you want a pork tenderloin, we'll avoid the local cuisine and do something out of town. But whatever our guests wish would be the first priority.
So that one's a fun package if you're, I know a lot of you people, if you're into historic homes, you also might be into historic vehicles. Indy 500, great history there, and get to hang out with Marsh, taken through the North Side Historic District?
Old North Side Historic District, and that's part of it. We can go to any number of historic districts. We can play it by ear, but that's where my car is stored, so that's where we would start. But the Indianapolis Museum, Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum is really a wonderful collection. It's not just a bunch of cars. It's really the history of the automotive industry and in our nation, and great friends there that could make it a meaningful experience. So I hope that you'll continue to bid on this. Where are we?
We're still at $7.75, so we got to get it up one more notch before we go to San Antonio package, and then we're going to return to all the open travel packages and close them.
$7.70. Will anybody give $8.50 for this? Got to wait for the delay. I know you think Indiana's a flyover state, and but it's really a wonderful place, and we have a dynamic historic preservation movement. And as you saw in the video clip, you'll be treated to a dinner in the house that really began our historic preservation movement here in Indiana. So it's a Second Empire style house from the mid 1860s. Love to have you.
All right, Peter moved it up to $8.25 to close to widen the gap in case anyone was eyeing it. I think I think now's as good a time as any to go to our final package, and then we'll return to all of them.
Well, you may have noticed that San Antonio has an outsized representation in Preservation Action and Preservation Action Foundation, but it's all good because everyone from San Antonio, Shannon and we, Edward and others, Vince Michaels is there now, and of course Bruce McDougall was there for a long time. There's a great preservation presence, and what a wonderful package. So why don't you roll the tape on that one?
Hi, Vince Michael with the Conservation Society of San Antonio. Together with the Office of Historic Preservation, we have a fantastic package for you. 3 days in the Alamo City, staying in a wonderful mid-century modern home just 15 minutes from the core, and touring all these wonderful attractions.
So Vince made a very short video because I think he knew that Edward and I would be on here and that we would talk it up. So in doing so, let me read you the full description because there was too much to list, too many slideshows to make. The San Antonio package includes explore the Alamo City with expert guides leading you through the World Heritage San Antonio Missions, Alamo Plaza, historic parks, and King William, Texas' oldest historic district. The package for 4 persons includes accommodations for up to 3 nights in a wonderful mid-century modern home near the airport and dinner at Thai Lucky Sushi Bar downtown. The lucky winner also gets 4 tickets for 4 people to enjoy the San Antonio Zoo as well as the San Antonio Museum of Art, located in historic brewery building on the museum reach of the famed Riverwalk. Enjoy a Go Rio river barge cruise along downtown Riverwalk, designed in 1930s, and be amazed by a private tour of the Pearl Brewery rehabilitation led by Bill Schoen of Silver Ventures, who conceived of this award-winning revitalization project. The winner also gets the comprehensive 2016 Saving San Antonio, the AIA Guide to San Antonio, Conservation Society t-shirts, Fiesta medals, and other souvenirs of a city entering its 4th century. So that's a lot there, and that's why Vince didn't want to go through each and every single item. And while we're here, let's just throw it in. If you bid right now, you can have me and Edward join you on the 2 out of the 4 Thai Lucky dinners. We appreciate you having us. Get your bid in. Caitlin Cotton, she's trying to visit us. She just outbid Peter at $12.50 now. So
$12.50.
Yeah, I think they saved the best for last. I appreciate that.
No, you guys are great. I think it's worth $1,500. I mean, I think Bruce McDougal needs a trip back to San Antonio, don't you think? Bruce,
yeah.
You want to get that $1,500? What do
Bruce
you
and
think?
Jill, get back in here. And Peter just came back with $1,300.
Oh man, come on, let's do 1,400 and do 1,400. I can't see those paddles in the air. $1,400.
All right.
What a bargain! You get these guys.
You don't want to have a trip to hang out with us, but I will say this. Before I moved to San Antonio, I did not know about the 4 Southern missions. You know, everybody knows about the Alamo, but I did not know about the 4 Southern missions. And, you know, we also now have a World Heritage designation. So if you're interested in any type of religious architecture from the late 1600s up until the mid 1700s, these missions are something to check out. There's a lot of history, both indigenous history and then history of South and Central Texas that's wrapped around those missions. So you for sure want to check those out.
You'll be guided by the Conservation Society of San Antonio, Vince Michael being one of them. I think he used to do the tour. It used to be a bike tour, but it might just be a walking tour now.
But think about what we're doing here. We're supporting Preservation Action Foundation. This is the key thing here. Wonderful. And just to honor the commitment from San Antonio to these organizations. Can we get, where are we? 1,300?
1,300.
We get 1,300 for this wonderful offering.
If we get to 1,500, we'll start talking about closing. But even reading the description, everything that I mentioned was in a historic structure. Like even the zoo, like not a lot of cities have historic zoos.
So we got 1,500. We'll close it right now.
But it's fine. We'll let it relish. I think now our night is closing. We're gonna return from the very beginning of all our packages in order, and then we're gonna close them. So when we flip to these last ones, it means that we're gonna close it. So let's see here. Was it New Orleans? We haven't closed yet, right?
Right.
All right. So New Orleans was our first one that we brought in, and I'm gonna load it back up now. While I was speaking, Kathy McKeno came in with the with $13.50 for San Antonio. So Kathy, if you come, make sure to bring us one of those Hummers from the Bayview Yacht Club, even if you got to pack it with ice. All right. Peter brought us over $1,000 at Best of New Orleans at 1,075.
How about we close it at 1,200? Who'll give 1,200 and we'll close it right now? Great, a great offering. It's to sustain this organization.
And you get to hang out with Danielle Del Sol and her great crew at Preservation Resource Center.
You can ride the St. Charles all day long, back and forth. Anybody? So where are we?
We're at 1075. I think people weren't ready for this one to close because they were still filling out the other ones, but that's okay because we're in good. Peter's been diligent on his button pressing. We'll give it 30 more seconds.
Wait, we're at 1275.
We're at 1075.
1075. Somebody give 11. That's $25. $1,100.
Push one bid over Peter. He probably won't have time to refresh the page and outbid you. Just get one over Peter. We'll start closing.
$1,100.
Almost there. Not yet. Not yet. But it's fine. We'll let Peter walk away with one. But as we're closing this in the next 30 seconds, make sure you have the other pages loaded up for Savannah, for Indianapolis, for San Antonio, for Northern Michigan. But we'll let Peter get away with this one. So Marsh, if you want to do a countdown.
Let's do it. 5.
Oh,
4.
and Peter came in with 1175 because he wants this one. This is the one that he wants. The other ones, he's just pushing it up to get support going for us. But this is the one that he wants.
I need $1,200. I need $1,200. Right? That's $25. Come on, $25. Let's move this. $1,200.
Peter, I'm sorry that I underestimated your refreshing skills. That's very quick.
Anybody? We're going to close it in 5 seconds.
Sold to Peter Primavera, Best of New Orleans for $11.75 at 19 bids. Thank you, Peter.
What a bargain. Congratulations. Thank you. And thank you to Danielle and the Preservation Resource Center and all the other entities that contributed to that. So what's our next? We sold the National Trust registration, Pass Forward 2021.
So where was the Tenant Museum? So either Savannah or Northern Michigan. Which one do you think?
Let's go to Northern Michigan. Northern Michigan, before it gets too cold. Where are we with that? I forgot.
All right, Northern Michigan's loading up. We got over $1,000 from Kevin Krulowicz at $10.50 with 8 bids in.
Well, Kevin's no dummy. He knows that's a great bargain. So let's do 1,100. Everybody give 1,100 for that.
Do you think Kevin's in it for the wine or the golf?
Kevin is a man of great taste. He's in for the whole experience. As everyone should be, because this is a wonderful thing.
And Patricia Kehoe came in at 1,100, so the live closing is coming in.
1,100. So let's do $1,200. Kevin, are you still with us?
So many extra rooms. You could just put all your stuff in there, not a care in the world. I bet it's real breezy right now too. Probably should go early before it gets too cold, but right now, like, if you've been waiting on it. Edward, have you been to Michigan?
Not Northern Michigan, but I've been to Detroit.
Yeah, so this is a different view.
Northern Michigan is glorious. So where are we? We at 1,100?
1,100 with Patricia Kehoe.
1,100 buys it? Let's give one last chance, $1,100. 5 seconds.
Loading up. Anyone pressing that bid button? Sold to Patricia.
Well,
Relax in Northern Michigan. Enjoy Patricia at 1100 with 9 bids. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Kathy McKino, for your Hummer video, for getting that footage for us, and for such a generous donation.
All right. What's next? We've got the
Savannah.
Explore Historic Savannah.
Let's see what we're at. All right, Peter's leading the pack on this one for $775. 14
We'll
bids.
give 800.
So
Let's
there's
go
a lot of
800. Let's go
movement.
right now. Let's do $800. Savannah. I mean, it's like the Mecca.
Don't worry, we'll say the same thing about San Antonio when it comes back up. But Savannah has a unique role that is one of the first. So get in there, get in the Marshall House, get those cookbooks and those splendid tours that she mentioned. Lauren McHale came in at $825.
Oh, Lauren, there's a nice happy hour at the Marshall House too. They have a little wine and cheese thing every afternoon. So add that to the mix.
Peter came in at $875.
We'll do 900. Lauren, 900. Let's go.
900, and we'll start talking about closing.
We'll close it at 1,000. Somebody give 1,000. We'll close it right now. How's that? Somebody give 1,000. We'll skip all the BS. Let's just close it at 1,000. It's yours, and that extra will support Preservation Action and the foundation. $1,000. Anybody? Come on.
I know Lauren's pressing that refresh button.
$1,000.
One more bid. Come on, just one more bid, and we'll close it.
Keep in mind, this includes a membership to the Historic Savannah Foundation. So, I mean, you're getting a lot of benefits that are going to last, including the cookbook. You know, these aren't just, a weekend that you're going to enjoy this. You're going to enjoy that cookbook and the membership for an entire year. Cookbook, hopefully longer.
We're going to close it. Where are we? What's our number?
$875 with Peter.
So we need $900. Do I hear $900? Let's give it one last chance. $900 and we'll close it. Okay, sold. $875.
All right, Peter, enjoy your second vacation. All right, let's round it off.
Thank you, Bree, Historic Savannah Foundation, and Marshall House, and everybody else. Okay,
right,
Indianapolis. Don't humiliate me, folks. I've tried so hard.
All right, Indianapolis, $975 with Peter. He's really pushing that 1,000.
Marsh, does the package include just a ride in your car, or do they get to drive your car?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, it depends how much you bid. I mean, you bid a little bit more, I'll let you drive it. How about $1,000? I mean, it's $25. We'll give $1,000 for this.
Yeah, push it over 1,000. We'll start closing. Otherwise, Peter's got too many vacations to go to.
Anybody give 1,000? We're going to close it. $975. I need $1,000.
Are you guys are pressing that refresh?
Okay. So, $975.
All right. And then let's finish off
Biggie.
with San Antonio.
All right. Where are we? I forgot.
Loading up. All right, Peter came in strong with 1,400, but we can't let him get away with all these vacation packages.
$1,500. Who do $1,500 on this? It's got to be somebody. Anybody left out there? I wish I could see you, but I can't. But
There's 21 bids in here, so there's a lot of movement. But Peter's rounding off. He's keeping an eye on this one.
Peter, we love you. We hope you win, but we want you to bid against somebody for a little bit more. 1,500? Anybody? We're gonna close it. We gotta close this.
Yeah, we do. We gotta get going. I know people.
5 seconds.
Running out of
5 seconds warning. You want it? Bid now. Bid now. We're gonna close it.
Sold. Peter. 1,400. Peter, let us know when you're in San Antonio. We'd love to join you, or we'll leave you alone too. Okay, so that concludes our live auction portion. We thank everyone for their support tonight. We raised a lot of funds, and our cause is important. We really need to finish strong for our operating costs throughout the year. 2021 is going to be an important one, as every year is important. I want to close this event with our last call for text to donate. If you didn't see items that you liked, or maybe you did, but you still want to give more, give directly. If you do a text to donate towards our mission bid, some might call it, or our open donation, that helps us directly without having any donations involved. We thank you. Marsh, do you want to have some closing words here?
Well, do we want to ask people to contribute openly, or have we hit people hard enough tonight? I mean, what we typically do at this event is ask people, okay, if you didn't bid on something, if you didn't find something you want, or if things were too expensive or just not practical for your schedule, would you consider a bid to support Preservation Action and Preservation Action Foundation? And it's terribly awkward with me standing here in an empty hall without people and without the kind of peer engagement that we typically have. But you do all have opportunities to bid an amount to support the cause. And we would be extremely grateful for any consideration you would give to just a flat out cash donation. The first time I experienced this mission bid was actually when Susan West Montgomery was president of Preservation Action years ago. And I couldn't afford to buy any of the big packages, but she said, well, who will give anybody, we'll take 10 bids for $100. And hands went up all over the places. It was so successful, we did it again. And it really helped inject some cash into the organization. So I would, I don't know, gentlemen, if we want to, should we pursue that or not? Or we can direct people to the give. Certainly it's been up all week that people want to give a contribution, but if there's any way we can engage those who are still with us tonight in giving, I would be happy to walk through it.
Sure thing, Mark.
I mean, certainly, I think we can for sure call it out. As Marsh mentioned, I mean, there's set donation levels that if you go to the auction item gallery that you'll see. I mean, this is 25, 50, 100, 250, or 500. But Wee's also going to go over the text to donate. And I think he'll let you know now, you can donate any amount of money on text to donate. It can be $5, it could be $100.
Yeah, so as you see on the screen right now, we have our text to donate leaderboard as well as the clear instructions. You just text PA 2021 to 44321. When you text that number, you'll get a link that you can go to, and you fill out a donation form, and then you'll get your name popped up right here on the leaderboard. We'll acknowledge you. We'll thank you. We appreciate it. The goal that we set here tonight is obviously a lofty goal of $10,000 to help bridge the gap between any auction funds as well as sponsorships and donations to really tie us over for the rest of the year. 2021 is going to be an important year because we might face different administration, different causes, especially with our transition from in and out of the pandemic. We don't know how people or Congress people will reappropriate those funds, right? Like, especially now, you don't know where money is being pulled from or moved from, and it's important that organizations like Preservation Action Foundation is able to help train and provide resources and opportunities to speak to our representatives and make sure that we have sound preservation policy moving into the future. While I was speaking, Nancy Finegood came in, Trisha Logan came in, Caitlin Cotton came in. I know some of you guys might be loading up your phones and your computers, but the Texadonia is open the entire time, and we just hope that the numbers start rolling in. I know you guys are still refreshing from the auction, still looking at the silent auction items, but it's always open.
Yeah, and the silent auction items, we've closed the live items, but the silent auction items will be open for how long?
Till November 9th. And there's still travel packages that weren't in today's live auction. So if you're really looking to the travel, or as well as the smaller items, trinkets and historic books and objects and memberships and virtual opportunities, they range from, starting bid of $5 up to however much for those larger travel packages. The silent auction also helps, finish us strong for the rest of the year.
And this is obviously a very difficult year for so many of us and so many organizations, and many of you who are tuned into this are represent organizations. But if you have the opportunity to share this with your constituents, with your membership people, it would be greatly appreciated, because we realize that trying to participate in something like this virtually is not ideal. We spend way too much time Zooming and doing virtual conferences. So thank you all for bearing with us tonight and for bidding and for supporting. This is a really dear cause. And as I said, it's a lean operation, and we need all the support we can get to keep this thing moving forward. That's all I'll say for the rest of the night, but thank you, gentlemen. Wonderful job.
All right, so with that, we'll close our show. I'll probably hang up this call, but I'll leave the live stream up with a text to donate for maybe a few more minutes. I do have some comments to get back to in the YouTube thread about some people wanting to outbid each other, but the software wouldn't let them. So we'll resolve that. I'm sure Peter will be generous to let go one of his many items that he won tonight for a higher bidder. We'll work through that with our in-house staff, Rob Naylor and myself. Thank you all